Thank you all for coming here and being here with us today. My name is Clarissa Benavides, and I work here at the Graduate School. And today we have brought a wonderful speaker. Her name is Danielle She's from the Alvarez College of Business Student Success Center. And today she'll give a presentation over time management in the workplace. And again, just to reiterate what John said, we ask that you hold all questions until after the presentation. And at the time, like he said, you're more than welcome to, pop some questions in the chat or, unmute yourselves. And also, for those of you with phones, we will be playing a Kahoot game over some UTSA trivia, and the top 3 winners will win a prize. So that's all I have for now, and I'll go ahead and hand it over to Danielle.
All right, awesome. Can everyone see my screen is the first question.
You're good.
Perfect, love it, okay. Good afternoon, I'm Danielle Goronsky. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I work in the Alvarez College of Business as the Associate Director of Engagement. I'm specifically the career coach dedicated to our MBA students. So any of you MBAs, I am here in the College of Business for you, but love partnering with my grad school folks here. So I want to first start with how many people feel good about their time management? Kind of one of those reflective questions. And you're probably all here going, I don't, and that's why I'm listening to this. I'm with you. And I just want to let you know that I think there's probably a lot more of us that are working through this. And so we're all in this boat together. And so always be open to asking questions of those around you and anyone who has good tips or, sharing those articles. So today we're going to cover a couple different topics. We are going to cover a little bit about life as a grad student and what that kind of working professional schedule looks like, goals, the Eisenhower Matrix, to-do list, time blocking, online resources, and setting expectations and boundaries. And I just want to let you know that as we go through this, we're going to be covering a number of different time management tips for grad students. And there are many principles in this presentation that can apply to your student life, your professional life, but also your family life. So make sure to utilize the principles to apply to each aspect of your life where you feel that you might need to incorporate some of those. So life as a grad student, there are a lot more expectations I think we feel through here. I know there's specific GPAs that we need to achieve, and that's imperative. Another expectation, especially in the transition from a bachelor's degree to a master's degree, is for each 3 credit hour class, or basically one course, you can expect a minimum of 6 to 9 hours each week outside of class time on research, readings, assignments, group projects, all of those other aspects. So then incorporate the time that you're spending in class. You're looking at about 9 to 12 hours total per class per week. And that's kind of a lot, right? Like we're probably all looking at our calendar going, okay, where are we going to get 12 hours? But I think the first thing is to help have those clear expectations that this is an adjustment. You're probably going to be spending a lot more time on classwork and on those assignments. So the way this translates is one course, in 1 week. Course 1, you have a 300-page book to read with a 5-page analytical paper to write. Course 2 has 150 pages to read with a 45-minute class presentation over the book and a 3-page literature review due. Work, you can be working 20 to 40 hours. Social, it might be getting those invitations out. You might have family. We are in fall now. We've got Halloween, we have Hanukkah, we have Thanksgiving, we have Christmas, we have so many additional family and personal obligations that are coming up. Then I think we all just need some time to have some me time, whether it's to binge watch that favorite show, to read, hit a spa, hit a baseball game, whatever it is. And then there's your day-to-day. That house is not going to clean itself. Those groceries, we've got to go get them. How many of you, as you're looking at this or hearing this, feel like I can relate to this, you can put something in the chat, you can raise your hand. If you're, listening, you can give a shout out. But I think we all relate to this. There's so much to being a working professional, having a family, being a full-time student. And so I think we all are here to learn a little bit more how to handle all of these areas and these different aspects to our lives. So we want to talk about goals and having primary priorities, because there are a lot of good and positive activities that require our most precious commodity, which is time, but may not help you achieve your goal of completing your degree with a GPA or a high GPA or achieving the goals you want in school. You have to sometimes choose between competing demands for your time. You need to determine what are your priorities and what are your top priorities. A good filter to help is, will this help me to achieve my goals? Is this going to help me get where I want to be? I recommend at the beginning of each semester, before the semester starts, or maybe week 1, you should set a goal for your long-term semester goal. I want to write my thesis. I want to select my research topic. I want to get a 4.0 in both classes. Or I want to submit to a publication or attend a conference, or I want to, this is the semester I want to write my resume and get those additional job search skills current. And then your primary priorities. And a lot of these are going to be personal. So as we're going through, there's a lot of things that can be adapted and can be shifted based on who you are as a person and what your priorities are. Some of the secondary priorities may be primary priorities, just depending on who you are and where you're at. Then the secondary priorities can be filled in around your primary priorities. I personally serve on several committees and boards and work a full-time job. And after teaching a few of these time management workshops, I was like, let me start applying some of these to myself. I was in a new phase in my life, and I was actually going back to school to get my MBA project management certificate. All of my priorities had changed and my time management had changed. So I had to actually step back personally from some of these boards, things that I enjoyed, but it fulfilled the role and completed the work. It was now time for me to move on to this other priorities. School now became a priority. And so I had to shift some of these things. One of the things that I want to kind of talk about and help us to kind of frame this discussion is the Eisenhower Matrix. And it's discussing the difference between important and urgent. And yes, this is named after the president, President Eisenhower, and it is a task management tool created by Stephen Covey that helps you organize and prioritize tasks by urgency and importance. This is predominantly a professional tool, but can easily be adapted for personal life and school. And it's actually recommended that you don't incorporate or blend like your personal into one matrix and with your professional, keep them separate. And really, this is why we don't feel we have enough time. When everything feels like it's urgent and a priority, and everything feels like it has to be done today. So using the tool, you'll divide your task into the 4 boxes. Based on the tasks you'll do first, the tasks you'll schedule for later, the tasks you'll delegate, and then the tasks that you'll delete. By taking the time to manage this, you will be able to create a more efficient workflow and remove some of the unnecessary stress. Making a to-do list is the first step towards getting this work done. You need to then determine what is urgent and what is important. Urgent tasks require your immediate attention. These are tasks with a clear deadline and consequences if you don't do it on time. Then there's important tasks that may not require immediate action, but are part of a long-term goal. Once you've separated the tasks into urgent and important, you can start to add them to the matrix. So you can just take a piece of paper. If you do it by hand, I'm old school, I love a pen and paper. You can put those into the different boxes. You can also find they have fillable templates online. And so you can go in and download some of those templates for your use. Then what this practically translates to is the different quadrants and having tangible activities in them. So in quadrant 1, This is the do quadrant. These things truly are the things that must be done now. These are probably the things that are stressing you out the most. And these are the things that really you need to do and have a handle on. Quadrant 2 is decide or schedule. Things that are not urgent, but still important. These are the things that you can tackle after you complete the do tasks. This is where time blocking and other time management tips should be incorporated. This could be something as simple as, hey, the deadline, this is urgent. Maybe it's for a boss, the president of the company, or maybe there's a specific deadline, but that's in a few weeks or a few months or next semester. And we can start managing those. Quadrant 3 is the delegate section. These are urgent, but not important and should be completed, but they don't affect your long-term goals. These also may not require your specific skill set. This will be the area where you are able to increase your productivity by delegating some tasks. And this may be when you get home, now you're delegating to some of your kids. Maybe it's time for them to learn how to, do laundry or, make their own breakfast, a couple of those different things where you can start delegating some things. Quadrant 4 is delete. These tasks in this quadrant are neither urgent nor important and might be distractions from getting in the way of your goals. So this kind of is just a small example of some of the things that we might be putting in each quadrant. But I want to start looking at some of those time management tools. How many people have ever missed a deadline or an event or a meeting? Why did you miss that event? Why did you miss that meeting? What caused it? Sometimes I learned real quick that I was missing things because I wasn't putting it into a planner or a calendar. I also learned to really rely on reminders. So I set those reminders in my phone and I try to sync calendars. So I'm getting that reminder, hey, this meeting's in 15 minutes. Great, let me start transitioning activities. Realistically, it's hard to remember all the deadlines and due dates and balance them in your mind. How often has it happened where you forgot and panicked the night before? So write everything down when you hear it. Don't rely on yourself to remember and bring that up later. Write it down immediately when you hear it. One of the first things I did when I started my classes, I took that syllabus and I put everything into a planner or on my calendar, especially anything that was due. And then I kind of worked back from there and said, great, everything is due on Sunday. I'm going to do all of my reading on, Wednesday, or I'm going to do it all on Saturday. And I knew I had a time block set for that. This way you can track everything when everything is coming up and get the reminder. Then what I will do is I get that time blocking going. So now I'm time blocking everything. I've got the deadlines and now I work backwards. Especially if you have our projects at the end of the semester always sneak up, right? They're always right around the corner or midterm. And sometimes we need those times because now there's more research, there's more pieces and components, more complexity to our projects. So time blocking, it's going to help lead you to that final piece. And we'll talk a little bit about time blocking. But one of the easy things to do is a to-do list. It helps you keep moving toward your goal on a daily basis. Typically, we look at our schedule with a 1 hour free, and then we look at our tasks to see what we can fit into that hour, opting for quicker and easier tasks instead of choosing to start a longer project. This is where really knowing, hey, is this urgent? Is it important? Where did it fall on my Eisenhower Matrix? And then that 1 hour could be used to gain progress on a project. Otherwise, you're completing non-essential tasks that are neither important nor urgent and are moving you no closer to your goals. So structure your day based on the things, activities, responsibilities you have to do. Activities are constant, so focusing on time may make you misprioritize. Activities are executed on a nonstop basis. We're constantly doing them, right? No project seems like it's finished until the final day and we turn it in. So write your to-do list, then label with level of priority, or maybe it's highlight, maybe you have it color-coded. A are top priorities, B second, and C are the lowest. Don't waste your time on doing those C tasks. Sometimes it's easy to do the C tasks that take 15 minutes. I'm going to check and answer my email. but then we keep adding time and kind of, it's not necessarily procrastinating, but pushing those deadlines back in the time we have to work on additional things. One of the things that's recommended is taking about 15 minutes. Hey, I have 15 minutes. I'm going to start working on my A priority. I'm going to chip away a little bit at a time. There's also a feeling of accomplishment and crossing things off. You feel you're moving closer towards that goal. And so then you're getting a little bit more of that positive energy from being able to manage your time, because now you're moving a little closer towards that goal. The big thing is break down each task into smaller, manageable pieces. Sometimes the initial reaction is to write down some of the bigger things, like write research paper. But that's a big thing, and sometimes feels overwhelming, and we can't manage that task because it is big. But if we break it down into smaller tasks, like write 3 pages, write an outline, research topic, especially in grad school, you need to be protective of your research and writing time. You want to make sure you're providing quality information and quality writing. So if you write down tasks in random locations, you will forget them later. Keep only one to-do list. So like we talked about, tackling the large projects that are the stuff of graduate school really feels immense sometimes. That's why we too often tend to put off doing them. So make time to determine the component parts of larger projects. What are the stages involved in writing a literature review and reading a book or a chapter? It's much easier to envision yourself sitting down to read 2 pages of an article in an otherwise wasted half hour than it is to imagine yourself starting to work on chapter 2 of your dissertation. If you have an 800-page book to read throughout the semester, the smaller piece would be reading 100 pages each week for the next 8 weeks. We work better as people with small, specific, manageable goals. So break everything down into these small pieces. Identify time wasters. Can anyone say TikTok? Social media? It's easy to get distracted. Pay attention to what draws your attention away, no matter what it is, and it can be a lot of different things. Set a goal to not engage in that behavior during focused study time. Set aside, use some apps or a screen time reader. I have it downloaded onto my iPhone to shut off certain apps after a certain amount of time in the day. Or even something simple, like when I'm at work, I've created the habit of turning my phone upside down so I don't see that screen pop up and I'm distracted when I'm trying to focus on my work. Time blocking. Time blocking helps you be strategic and intentional in where you spend your time. A calendar or planner, whether digital or analog, will help keep track of the activities so you don't miss an important appointment or a deadline or run out of time because you had a work event you had to attend that took away from study time. Time blocking is the practice of scheduling out everything in order to better manage time. It also relieves the guilt and stress of when will I find the time to do X. You already know it's built into the plan. You will start to realize where you waste time or what activities take up more time than you thought. Adjusting your blocks as you go is pretty normal, especially if time blocking is new for you. It's going to take a little while to build and develop this habit. It may seem overwhelming, and time blocking might not be for everybody, but find a system that works for you to help manage your time and schedule time for everything. But this allows you to see where you have pockets of time to incorporate social activities or other priorities. This helps prevent trying to produce high quality products overnight. This also helps you organize your week, your month, your semester, and there's a variety of things you can do in here. So here's what an example of time blocking looked like. Some of you just probably looked at this and thought this is a lot. There's a lot in here. But just know you're not necessarily locked into this. Life does happen. An emergency comes up, as something that is important and urgent might come up. It's okay to give yourself a little slack and to know that there's flexibility in here. A client call may run over into your lunch, or your supervisor might ask you to stay longer on your shift because someone called out. Understandable. But time blocking helps you to know that you have a designated time for everything. Create time to schedule lunch. Sometimes my calendar books up because students are able to make appointments, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, my first time block that I have time free is like 4 o'clock for lunch. That's not going to work. I want to make sure that I'm taking 30 minutes to an hour to eat, to get time away from work so that I can refocus on it when it comes in. Or another great thing is when things start to get busy, sometimes scheduling your things with your family or with friends. Maybe it's cooking dinner. Maybe it's I'm going to schedule dinner with my family every day. Maybe that's important to you, but what is important to you? Maybe exercising is important to you. Now you know, hey, I know that it's in here, and I know that I'm going to be able to accomplish it with all of the other things. Creating routines like working out every night or every morning helps you to accomplish everything you need to do. This will ease your mind by knowing when tasks will be accomplished. I know I have time set aside, focus time where I'm going to have an hour and a half that I can study, that I can read, I can research different topics. David Rock, author of Your Brain at Work, found that we're truly focused on our work a mere 6 hours per week. This is very different from our collective buy-in to the 40-hour work week, right? When you stop doing the things that make you feel busy but aren't getting you results and are draining of your energy, then you end up with more than enough time for what matters and a sense of peace that we all are striving for. This is essentially the time management version of a home edit, where you're going through and finding the space you had in your physical space. Now this is in your time in your personal space. You suddenly look around and you go, oh, I had plenty of time for this. So we need to identify what not to do. But this determination can't be random. It must be methodical and align with goals. Often things we think we must do and that are important or urgent are simply because we've always done them or others around us do them and we think we should. So such a perspective creates unnecessary stress when we do these tasks late, make errors, or ask for help. Maybe instead of serving on a board or committee, you can just attend the occasional meeting or follow up with another coworker who regularly attends those meetings if it might take away from something else. Another time management tool is to batch process. This is grouping similar items so you can work on them together. This also provides opportunities to focus on work and complete it timely and with less distractions. So some examples are respond to emails at a specific time in the day, or maybe just in the morning and the evening so that you can get all of the things that are kind of pressing. Or just because the notification appears, there's the pressure that we need to respond to it immediately when it can maybe be answered later in the day. Maybe seeing those emails and starting to get into the habit of asking yourself, is this important? Is this urgent? Can I schedule this for later? You can also communicate with your coworkers if it's something that they need immediately to, use the little immediate and urgent button. It's the little red exclamation point, and that you're going to be doing it this way. Maybe schedule certain meetings only on certain days. There's different ways to batch process, and that may help so that you're not feeling like, hey, I'm answering one email here and one email here and really not getting through everything. Organization clearly helps lead to long-term management of productivity and time. Have the materials in an easy to find place when you need it. How clean is your desk? My desk is pretty questionable right now, and it's an indicator for me that my time management needs to be adjusted, because I start just kind of leaving things on my desk. This morning I stopped and started to just take some of those sticky notes that maybe have expired or have outdated information and just throwing them away and then putting things just in simple piles. Could your desk or office use a few minutes to organize? Another aspect of being organized is having the resources needed to complete the project. If you're organized in evaluating availability of resources, whether this be labor, physical resources, or time needed, you will be able to ask for assistance early. You might need to order more of a supply or delegate more staff to the project, and you may be able to do this in a timely manner. Especially with supply chain issues, we now need to add a few weeks onto any of those orders that we need. Or sometimes it's just we need to add more time for ordering some personal things. Team prioritization, and this can also include being able to prioritize as a family, as a group, whatever group you're in, wherever you're at. So the Harvard Business Review has these suggestions for team prioritization to manage time and projects. By guiding the structuring of day, time, tasks, it will help you and your team to stay on time to benefit the whole team. This will help them to get momentum. Work with them to prioritize the work, brainstorm the direction to take. You can talk through the smaller parts. Hey, here's what it takes to get to this, especially if you have some new team members. They know that they have a goal, but sometimes walking through them with the steps of how to get there or how you want it done. Set up intermediate milestones. Here's some goals. Here's where you should be at by these certain dates. Here's things that you should be doing on these deadlines. Do some of the work with them in a meeting, or team them up with colleagues. Is there someone who's maybe more senior who's now starting to take on some more leadership responsibility that you can team them up together? And then request daily updates on what they plan to do and what they've accomplished. That's always great to follow up, to get accountability, especially as you're working on projects together. Then you know that things are going to be accomplished in a timely manner because you may not have the time to put it all together or to do some extra work at the end. Through COVID, I think we've learned a little bit more about online resources. These have been forced to develop and evolve. And so here's a small list, but since COVID, this has expanded your online resources to help you organize, plan, project manage. You can now use your computer or phone as an organizational tool to help you organize your time. Clearly there's the basics of like a Microsoft Outlook or an iCal, using those to time block, schedule your time, put all your appointments and deadlines in. But then there's things like bookmarking important websites. So one of the ways that I use those 15 to 30-minute pockets of time is maybe I came early to a meeting, everyone's not there yet, or maybe I'm waiting in an appointment. What I'll do is if I'm on my phone, I will, instead of opening up a game or social media, I will start to research some of the topics that I'm looking at for the future of different presentations. And then I'll start bookmarking those research topics and those websites so that I can come back to it later. And then, hey, I'm ready to now start putting my outline together. Here's all of my research and information in one place. There's also Google Docs where you can communicate with people. I think that's pretty common. But buying products online, I love curbside. It has been such a big time saver for me. I won't go back. I'm able to overlap my time by ordering groceries together and binge watching, a show that I've been meaning to catch up on. There's also a variety of virtual tools to help you organize professionally. Here at work, we utilize Teams like Planner. There's specific project management tools where you can then help manage your team and the time that you're going to accomplish all of these. There's also Pocket is one that I really like because with Pocket, just like I talked about, you can either bookmark these or you can download them into Pocket and it saves them all. And then it saves them all more as a Word doc. So it gets rid of a lot of the ads. So you can scroll through those articles faster. Self-Control is an app and temporarily block sites. So if you're going to have focus time, it will help block those sites so that you're not getting those distractions, you're not getting those notifications, and you're not pulling them up. There's some that are just about note-taking. And then some simple things like paying bills online or setting up auto draft. You're not going to miss that important deadline that's critical for your personal and family life. Overlap time. This allows you to incorporate something you want to do with someone you want to do it with. So invite someone to do that activity you've been wanting to do for a while. So maybe you want to personally take a cooking class. but you need to spend time with a friend. Invite that friend to take that cooking class with you, or that family member, or maybe you love hiking. Great, now we're getting up as a family and we're going to hike it in the morning on Saturday. This is now going to be our new activity where you can blend the two things you like to do. Or putting your book out while you're at the gym. I see a lot of people will have their, textbooks up while they're doing fitness classes and they're on the treadmill. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get things done, and sometimes overlapping that time. Or maybe it's everyone in the family does homework together, or maybe everyone in your house. If you're living in a space with multiple students in grad school, hey, let's all focus so that you don't have one person who's watching TV loud or, doing something different. You're all together and you're all going to have that focus time and with less distractions. So one thing that also helps is to set expectations. And this really, we're going to talk about family, but this can also apply to multiple areas of your life. We recommend setting up a family meeting each semester, whether it's friends or could be work team, could be your work family group, things like that. But especially in the family, if you have children or siblings that you live with, they need to see grad school in a positive light, especially if you're the first one in your family to go through this process. While many in both your immediate family and extended family, including close friends, support the idea of grad school, it may not connect on the time commitment that is required and how it will affect them. Their expectations, unless communicated, may be that you will still be able to do the same things. You're still going to be able to have the same level of engagement and commitment in going out that you were able to do before. So setting boundaries and expectations can help you deal with the unpredictability of life. One boundary might be checking work emails only once or not at all when you get home. Another expectation is telling your kids that you're only going to respond to text messages throughout the day that are emergencies or have a prearranged time that you'll call them. These little things may help you to save time and set expectations and help protect that time that you do have. Part of that setting expectations is creating boundaries, and that's creating boundaries both personally and in the workplace. And this will help you have that balance and good time management in both aspects. If you do not firmly plan for personal time, you will never have time to do other things outside of work. No matter how hectic your schedule might be, you will ultimately have control of your time and life. When planning time with your loved ones, create a calendar for romantic and family dates. It may seem weird to plan one-on-one time with someone you live with, but it will ensure that you spend quality time with them without interruptions, without things coming up. Just because work keeps you busy doesn't mean you should neglect personal or professional relationships. I set aside for new employees at the 30, 60, and 90-day mark, a 2-hour meeting free from distractions. And I try to make it out of the office. So no one's going to come to the door with a question that's good, but it's not important or urgent. Another good thing is not checking work emails on vacation, unless you have a position that it's like, no, these are fires I need to put out. These are both important and urgent. The other thing was I really enjoyed the time that I was spending with the people I was spending it with. And when I came back, my team all said that they really felt empowered because they were having to make the decisions. And because we went through training before I left on, hey, here's where to look for certain things. Here's where to look for this report. And they really appreciated that. None of this happens overnight. Yes, we all say we want it. Yes, we want to get there, but it just takes time. It takes time getting there. It takes repetition. And there's some things here that you can just simply do. Sometimes it may be only checking your emails or work phone calls once a night or at certain times. But if you start abiding by these boundaries, others are going to notice. It does take time though. And really the last thing that I want to leave you with that I think is also important is it's okay not to be perfect. I'm going to repeat that. It is okay to not be perfect. It's okay to be broken, late, wrinkled. A lot of overachievers develop perfectionist tendencies at a young age when demands on their time are limited to school, hobbies, maybe an after school job. It's easier to maintain that at that point in your life and that perfectionist habit as a kid and through your teenage years. But as you continue to grow in your life and career, all of those things get more complicated. As you climb the ladder at work and as your family grows, your responsibilities mushroom. Perfectionism becomes out of reach. And if that habit is left unchecked, it can become destructive. So be realistic about what works for you, your time management. When we lose focus and balance, then we try to be perfect, not real. And sometimes we just need to be real. Hey, I know that I need to have this time set aside. I need to go to the gym every day because if I don't, it kind of affects me. Or I need to spend time with my family because that's my priority. And sometimes I need to miss a meeting that's not urgent and important and get the notes from a coworker or someone else. And so I just want to thank you all for allowing me to share with you some of the tips that I've learned. And I hope you can just start incorporating one or two things at a time. Incorporating all of this at once is hard, but incorporating one or two of the tips that you've learned here and then adding more as time goes, I think will really help you move to that next step. Again, my name is Danielle Gronsky. I'm the Associate Director of Engagement in the Alvarez College of Business. I'm specifically the MBA coach. My email's up there. If you have questions, I will help you. And if not, I will try to get you to someone that is able to help you. And I'm going to turn it over to Clarissa.